We always use the female plants. Almost all hop fields would be female plants, because otherwise if you have male plants, they'll start to crossbreed, and you get lots of seeds and weird things going on. They're like little kind of pine cone shaped things. Depending on their phenotypical characteristics, there'll be different shapes, different lengths, like slightly different colors, all these kinds of things. But they're relatively uniform looking. From batch to batch, or batch to batch, crop to crop, they'll look different, but for the most part, they look pretty similar. They do vary though in their basically chemical constituents. The main parameter that most brewers deal with is we call alpha acid, which is is the percentage by weight that the hop cones themselves, how much alpha acids they contain, which provides bitterness and aroma and flavor. But there are other compounds in there that provide bitterness, aroma, and flavor as well. So it's not a perfect parameter. It's something the industry is still working on, especially as we move away from strictly looking at alpha acids, because they're really it's a number that we can use to establish the bitterness potential of the beer, the IBUs basically, but it doesn't really tell us anything about the aroma potential of the beer. And the industry is moving, especially with the IPA boom, towards aroma and flavor. We don't really care as much about bitterness. Like, it's just a good number, but it doesn't tell us anything about the hoppiness of the beer, really. Once upon a time, and still in some areas, farmers are growing based upon like alpha acids per acre, and just trying to chuck out hops with the highest alpha acids. And did come to find out that a lot of these high alpha varieties also tend to have some of the best aroma potential and flavor potential, because they had so much of these flavor containing oils in them, but it's not necessarily true. So we use one that's only 1.4% alpha acids, but we use an absolute ton of it because the aroma is so good. And then there are there's not a big class of hops, but a family of hops called noble hops that tend to come from like Germany and Austria. And one of those varieties is called Saz. And those are also very low in alpha acids, but they're one of the most prized varieties for its aroma potential. And then on the other side is some of those like American type of hops that people may have heard of, like Amarillo, Amarillo's like 14 plus alpha acids and huge aroma potential and huge alpha acids. Any hop can be put into any different form. Hops come in wet hops, which is hops fresh from the field, undried, unprocessed. They have a very short shelf life because of the high moisture content. They will start to mold pretty quickly, but they have a particular aroma and flavor that you don't get from kiln dried hops. Everything after that is kiln dried. So then there are what we call whole leaf hops, which is just the flower of the plant, but it's gone through the drying phase. Plug type are hops that are whole leaf hops that are just compressed into plugs. I believe they're 1 ounce increments, but I can't recall. They're not non-existent, but no one really uses them anymore because it's an imprecise weight. And then after that are pelletized hops, which are hops that are run through a hammer mill and then compressed into pellets. And the last one is hop extracts. There's lots of different ways of making hop extracts. There's like steam processing and CO2 processing, and then soaking them in alcohol, I think is another one that they used to do. They used to be fairly rare. You'd only really see maybe large breweries doing them, but they're with the boom in double IPAs and people trying to remove the amount of what we call vegetal content going into the boil kettle, as well as looking for alternatives to reduce beer loss when dry hopping, because the hops absorb a lot of the beer. We're seeing higher and higher quality extracts. We don't have to use them at our scale, but I know other much bigger breweries than us, and some approaching our size are seriously looking at them, if not using them already. I know Lagunitas uses them quite a bit. They can be very helpful for doing large-scale, very hoppy beers.
So hop availability, you've got your traditional whole leaf hop, you've got your hop pellet, you've got a hop plug, and you've got hop extract. That's a big topic of conversation amongst different breweries. Sierra Nevada, for example, swears by the whole leaf hop. A bale of hops is big, and it's hundreds of pounds, versus a pelletized hop, which is the whole hop's gone through a pelletizer, compressed into little pellets. We use hop pellets. And then there's also hop extract, which is CO2 is used in a liquid format, injected into a cylinder. It's the solvent that takes the resin, the alpha acids, out of the hop itself, and then it gases out back into liquid, or into CO2 gas, and it leaves the hop extract behind. That's what we use on the bittering side. So they'll take 20 pounds of hops and put it into a little tin of hops that we open with a can opener and pour it in. And it's wonderful because you get the bitterness, you don't get the, you put hops in, they absorb your wort, you lose beer. You put extract in, you're adding a couple ounces to your wort, and there's less trub in the whirlpool. And for us, it's all about the yield. So we get a better yield with our hop extract, and it's a better storage ability for us. The different yeasts out there, you've got pretty much your top fermenters, which are your ale yeasts, your bottom fermenters, which are your lager yeasts, and then over here you've got your wild yeasts, which are a whole different animal.